We often think of inequity as some kind of flaw in the system, right? Like a bug that needs to be fixed. But what if it isn't a bug at all? What if it's a feature? In this explainer, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that the systems of inequality we see all around us aren't here by accident. They were designed. And to really get our heads around this, let's start with this quote from Caroline Hill that basically frames our entire conversation. Racism and inequity are products of design. They can be redesigned. Now, that's not just a nice statement, it's a challenge. It's a call to action. It suggests that if something was built, well, it can also be taken apart and rebuilt with real intention. But here's the thing. To redesign something, you first have to understand the original blueprint. So what exactly was this original design, and how in the world was it constructed?
To answer that, we have to start with the money. It all starts with the economic engine. Drawing on the incredible work of W.E.B. Du Bois, we can see that the foundation of this whole design was first and foremost about profit.
I want you to just think about this number for a second. 5 million. That's how many bales of cotton were produced in the American South in the year of secession alone. That is an almost unimaginable amount of wealth, all generated from a single crop. And that economic miracle, it was built on one thing: the forced labor of enslaved Black people. As Du Bois so powerfully put it, their labor became the foundation stone, not just for the South, but for factories in the North, for England's entire factory system, for global commerce. It was the very bedrock of a new world economy. But an economic system that massive, well, it needed more than just physical labor to keep it going. It required a whole legal and social architecture to sustain it. And that's where we see the truly brutal human cost of that design. This, in a really chilling way, is the legal blueprint for dehumanization. The slave code systematically stripped away every single thing that marks you as a person. You weren't a person, you were property. You couldn't own anything, you couldn't legally marry, you had no legal claim to your own children. This wasn't random cruelty. It was a precise legal design, all meant to maintain an economic system. And you can see the devastating real-world impact in ads like this one. This isn't just about a missing piece of property. It's the story of a man named Polydor, whose wife and children were sold to a completely different plantation, and he's described as lurking near them. The law made their family illegal, but his human bond, that was unbreakable. Frederick Douglass just perfectly captured this profound contradiction way back in 1852. He asks, "What is the 4th of July to the enslaved?" And he says, "It's a sham, a hollow mockery." His words just expose the hypocrisy at the very heart of the nation's design, a celebration of liberty built on a foundation of bondage. So that was the original design. But let's circle back to Caroline Hill's words. What was designed can be redesigned. This is where we shift gears to the modern effort to create a totally new framework, one that's actually based on equity. So how is this new approach different? Well, traditional innovation, often dominated by what Hill calls white technocrats, tends to look for quick technical fixes and just ignore history. Equity design? It completely flips that script. It starts with those most impacted, out at the margins. It centers feeling and repair, and it acknowledges that the past is always, always present. And this requires a fundamental change in how we think. We aren't just passive inheritors of this flawed design. We actually have the power to become its new designers. So what does this new blueprint look like in practice? Well, it starts with a concept that's all about healing our collective well-being. Hill introduces this idea of the public body, and you can think of it as this interdependent network that connects all of us. The logic is simple but so profound. An injury to one part of this body, like racism or inequity, is an injury to the entire thing. Healing isn't just for the marginalized, it's for everyone, because the whole system is unwell. The process for this redesign really has 3 core steps. First, you come together and heal. It has to start with ourselves and with sharing our stories. Second, you design at the edges. You prioritize the voices and the needs of those the original system was designed to exclude. And finally, you practice in public. This isn't some secret process. It's about building a new future out in the open, together. Now, this work of redesign, it isn't new, not at all. It's actually part of a long, historical struggle for liberation. What changes over time are the tools that we have at our disposal. I mean, just think about how the technology of liberation has evolved.
In the past, it was the night sky itself. The stars were used to navigate towards freedom. In the 20th century, it was the film camera, which activists used to expose the lie of separate but equal. Today, it's the smartphone, making injustice visible in the palm of our hands. And tomorrow, it could be new digital spaces where we can actually practice building a more inclusive world. The tools change, but that fight for a better design continues.
So we're left with a choice. The original design was a choice, one built on exploitation for profit. Redesign is also a choice. We are all designers now, and the tools, both old and new, are in our hands. So the crucial question isn't whether we can redesign, it's what will we choose to build.